Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Well, I've been out this morning mowing my grass and I grabbed out my brush cutter to mow down the longer stuff. These areas of wilderness in my garden are actually a great source of ingredients for compost. So when it's time to build another compost, I get out here and tidy them up. For my last compost, I mowed my front nature strip and all of that grass was a third of the ingredients I needed for the compost. And the front garden is going to provide that third of the green materials that I'll need. As you've seen, I've recently cut down some trees, so I'm going to sneak some of that into the shredder and get the other third of the materials needed. And I'll be heading out to my pasture area to collect the remaining ingredients, which of course is the manure. I probably need about 8 bucket loads to give me a third of the volume of the compost that I'm going to be building. So why am I needing more compost, I hear you asking? Well, if you can look in my bay over there, all my first compost is gone. And today I'm going to start working on getting this into the garden. I've just turned this other compost and probably, in a few weeks' time, that will be ready to go onto the garden. I'm finding that this material, well, the first material that I put on, the gardens respond really well. This little garden I added the compost to sort of a week and a half ago, 2 weeks maybe. And these little cabbages, which were struggling with pests to start with, have finally started to kick in. Even this one here that I thought was a goner is responding. The lettuces are getting bigger. These Mizuna just take off. And even the bok choy are responding well. Yesterday I got out and weeded my onion bed and used the remaining compost from that compost bay to mulch all these little plants. So I hope that will keep the weeds under control as well as feed them all. There's a few gardens like my garlic bed that need some weeding and I'm going to get that compost onto it just to help suppress those weeds and it also help these plants. Likewise, this little leek bed could do with some weeding and weed suppression. Now it would be great to get all of those beds done today, but because I've got so much to do in so many different areas, I've got to pick and choose where I put my time. And now this garden bed here is where it's needed. There's some plants that are going great, like these Mizunas. They kind of take over the area. And there's also a mustard green over the other side that's just getting too large. So what we need to do today is kind of trim these back and give some more space to the brassicas, and I think they're really going to benefit from an application of the compost. This garden bed got an application of the compost a few weeks ago and you can see it really responding. These brassicas are very strong looking plants now. Now I have been enjoying some of these Mizunas, the little red Mizuna and the green Mizuna. I just pick off some of the top leaves and I'll use that in a salad. And with these bigger mustard greens, I'll just take the small leaves from right inside the plant, sort of the growing leaves. The larger ones just get a bit strong in flavour to add to my salad. So I just take them when they're small and add that into a sort of a chopped salad with lots of different leaves. But they do grow so fast that they do have to be managed in more ways than just picking for salads. So today I'm going to chop off a lot of these larger leaves and give a bit more space and light to the brassicas that are just quite small here at this stage, so that they can kick in a little bit more too, and we'll get that compost in and around them. So I'm just going to strip down these larger leaves. Oh look, there's a little brassica getting nowhere. And I'll feed those to the chickens and that plant will recover well. And I'll just do the same with these Mizuna as well. And that brassica will have a heap more space there now. With that little bit of a trim, my brassicas stand out a lot more now. And while these mustard greens seem pretty severely chopped back, they'll kick in, and if by chance they don't, It's no issue really. I've got plenty of growing elsewhere in the garden. And now for the other side. And once again, we can see, I think these are cauliflower plants in this garden. Here you go, ladies. Get off your water. Here we go. Just uncovered my compost. And it's got a nice colour to it. So we're going to be adding this to that garden bed. Oh wow, look at these. I don't know if you can see those. Lots of little worms up the top there. I'll be adding those to my garden too. I'll be careful. Wow. Okay, let's bring some joy to these little plants. Well, this bed looks fantastic. I just love the contrast of the greens and the purples and the dark of the compost. Now the other thing on my list today is just adding a few seedlings into one of my gardens. And I think I can probably sneak it into this garden at the front of my patch. We've got coriander, turnip and some more Asian greens, some bok choy I think it is, and they're all fast growing. So I think if we kind of add it in, maybe just in between these cabbage plants, they'll grow ahead of the cabbage plants needing that space in there. And hopefully we'll manage it better than, you know, this little plant here. When you see how closely nature allows plants to grow together, I think we kind of worry a little bit too much about the space we allow. And even if they turn out a little bit smaller than they would have, we're still maximising the area, I think. Out early in the garden today to catch up on the two beds, the leek and garlic that I didn't get mulched yesterday. First up, I'm going to do some weeding. Starting with the leek bed, I've noticed that there's a few little seedlings that might be worth keeping. Now, I'm not talking about all these little leek seedlings which have sprouted up from drop seeds. Just having a look through the garden. Over here is one of the seedlings. That's a mountain spinach. They're just a lovely purple colour in your garden, and their purple leaves can be eaten just like your normal spinach. I'll dig them up and we'll get them moved. Now they do get quite tall, so I'm just going to put them sort of the edge of this garden bed because it's right at the edge of the garden and the tall plants won't shade out smaller plants. A bit hard to see them in the morning light with all the shadows and their dark colour, but I've got 5 little plants in there now. Now we can get on with the weeding. The garden's all weeded and ready for mulching, but I've heard something up in my paddock, so let's go and have a look what's going on there. Right through the middle of my property, I don't know if you can see it there, runs some power lines over to one of my neighbours here. And each year the electrical company sends around guys just to trim trees to make sure it all remains safe. And that's who's rocked up in my paddock this morning. Now these guys did an amazing job. Instead of just pruning a couple of trees, I got them to take them down because that's what I'm focused on at the moment, getting these trees under control. So they've done a great job. We've just piled up everything into the swale and I'll be dealing with that a bit later. After dealing with the trees in my swale area, they then headed down to the dam because the power lines go across there. Duckies didn't see that one coming this morning and took out a couple of trees that I've been a bit nervous about dealing with. Watching these guys, I realised I need a chainsaw on a long pole so I can get down those branches up high, so then you can kind of safely take the tree down rather than getting it all down in one go and hoping it goes where you want it to go, which was a bit challenging when all the branches were interwoven with each other. It's really a bit difficult. So I've learned a lot from watching these guys today. They've done what would have taken me weeks to do in, very short time this morning. Thanks, guys. So let's get back to it now. Adding extra life to the garden as well. Now I can get onto the garlic bed, which I have kind of weeded a little bit from time to time when I have a little time. So I'll clear that, and I'll also clear along that compost path, which seems to be growing quite a bit of stuff. So I'll get on with it and then we can get the compost on. It's good to get these little sorrel plants out of here. Don't want them rooting in my garlic patch. Weeded, and the weeds in the path cut down. It doesn't quite look like a path anymore. Might have to get a few more wood chips and cover all of that over and get the potatoes growing again. So that's all I'm doing in the garden today. This afternoon I'm going to be collecting manure from the paddocks for my compost and also shredding up this pile of trees that yesterday looked like a huge pile, but today looks minuscule compared to what the guys have piled up for me out in the swales. But all good. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give a like for the video if you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.